can't see you. You're frozen.
여유롭게 달려와 내일은 더 빛나지 당연 yeah. 내 삶은 shine like a diamond 괜히 해서 뭐해 걱정 I got no worries.
Good evening. Happy Thursday, everyone. Happy Thursday. This is Monique Denton, your host of Sisters Inspire Sisters Table Talk. We have an exciting topic this evening. We have an educator, we have a founder, and this is a topic that's about our children. So I'm really excited about this because this topic is going to help us in terms of education, in terms of literacy, and starting at a very early age. Listen, we have some great things going on at Sisters Inspire Sisters. If you do not know, we are looking for 50 phenomenal women to be part of our book project. This next book project, I just want y'all to know, some of the women that are involved right now are dynamic, and we're just getting started with the recruitment. So again, we have the book project coming up, 50 Phenomenal Women. We also have a virtual summit that will be coming up in November. You can get more information from our website, sistersinspiresisters.com. And listen, ladies, we need you to become a member, okay? It's time to network. It's time to fellowship. This is the season of elevation. And everything that we need to do to empower and educate one another, that's what we're doing. But look, let's get into tonight's show with the dynamic guest, Miss Aquilah Robinson. Aquilah, I'm going to turn the mic over to you and just give us a little introduction about who you are and what you do, a little background, and then we'll jump right into the topic. Okay, let me see, Aquilah. We're having some technical difficulties. Let's see if we can unmute because I think you're muted here.
Unmuted.
There we go. Oh, wait a minute. We are. Okay. I think we're all set, Aquilah.
Okay, you're still frozen my end, but it's totally okay. I'll just go with the audio of it. So it sounds good to me.
Okay, so we can hear you now.
Okay. Healthcare confidence center by building foundational skills and skills syllables. I'm also a teacher. I've been teaching for over 2 years.
Okay, so Aquilah, I am going to try because we don't have a good connection. Let me see. Okay, let's try this again. Maybe this connection is better.
They are last fire suppression system, so if we pull those, that means that fire departments are already being called and the building should either be.
So Aquilah, can you hear me okay?
Yes, I can.
Excellent. So this connection, I can. Okay. This connection is much better. Much better.
So I see you now.
Yes. And there is a little background noise, but let's just go back to the beginning and just give us a brief introduction. Just tell us who you are again and what it is that you do, and then let's get right into the education part, because I'm excited. I have 2 grandsons, so I'm looking forward to it.
Okay. Yeah. So like I said, my name is Aquilah Robinson. I am founder of Learn Plastic Tutors, and I help kids go from struggling reader to confident reader by building those foundational skills in reading. I'm a full-time teacher. I have been teaching for over 10 years.
Wow. So now, how did you start this? So you're a full-time teacher. Are you elementary school or what level education?
Elementary. I teach in elementary school, also at the middle school level. My first, I did a little bit of elementary, and then I went to the middle, I did elementary because this is where my heart is. But I also work in the human business. I also do work with kids at the elementary and kids at the middle school level because sometimes they are missing those skills.
Okay. And when we talk about the turning children into confident readers, and you talk about early child, so I'm thinking about early childhood education and then early education, K through 6. So there is a little background noise here, but we are going to try and work through this. Let's just talk a little bit about some of the strategies that you recommend to help children read at an earlier age.
Right. Oh, some of the strategies I definitely help. I used to help kids read at an earlier age. Is first of all, you need to find out where they are good at, where they need help in, whether it's their beginning skills and phonemic awareness, and that is basically what their syllables, where their rhymes, do they know their letters, do they know their letter knowledge. Moving on up to phonics, exactly where are they with their phonics? Do they know their consonants, their diagrams? That all goes into play whether they're going to be strong early reading skills.
Got it. Okay. So we have I'm not sure if you can hear me okay, but I don't know what's going on with our connection tonight. So what I want to do is I want to go ahead and shut down, go out, and then we're going to come back in the broadcast. Let's see. We have one of the comments. Thank you so much. Okay, so we have one of our viewers that is saying there is a lot of background noise.
Okay, so I will change where I'm sitting at because I didn't expect this place to be so noisy. So I would change where I'm sitting at.
Okay. So what I'm gonna do is I will take you out the broadcast and then I'll add you back in. Soon as but you don't have to log out and log back in. Okay. So I'll just give you a minute. Okay. So listen, we are having a couple of technical difficulties. Aquilah is going to change her location and we're going to get right into this discussion. So I'm excited about this discussion tonight because it's tips and strategies to help our children with reading faster. Who doesn't want to know about that? So for me, I have 2 beautiful grandchildren, and of course, I am all about education and empowering children through education and empowerment. So anything that we can do to increase their education, to increase their literacy, to really help them get the head start in life that they need. So if you have questions or if you have comments or that there's things that you want to know, or even if you're a parent or a grandparent and you have a child that might be going through some learning difficulties, and there are different tips or strategies that you might want to know about, as soon as Aquilah hops back on, we are going to get right back into the conversation. So again, our topic tonight is all about education, all about children, all about coming up with strategies and resources to help them read faster. Our guest tonight is an educator. She is an elementary school teacher and has been teaching for about 10 years. Her name is Aquilah Robinson. She's also a tutor and the founder of her own organization, which helps to empower education and literacy in our children. So I want to thank everyone for joining. Once again, while we're waiting for Aquilah, let me just fill you in on a couple of things, ladies and gentlemen that are in the audience that are going on with the Sis Network. So we have launched our third anthology, our second anthology, Sisters Inspire Sisters Volume 2, Self-Love, Abundance, and Manifestation is coming out next week. We'll be having our virtual summit, the Amazon Bestseller Summit, which is going to stream live on Wednesday. Listen, ladies, if you have ever struggled in the areas or had challenges with self-love, abundance, and manifestation, these stories are going to empower and encourage you. The women really poured their heart out in terms of providing strategies, tips, and sharing some of their personal journeys in going through self-love, abundance, and manifestation. And when we say abundance, we're not just talking about abundance financially. We're talking about abundance from a holistic perspective. We're talking about abundance in every area in your life, abundance in your health, abundance in your wealth, abundance in your relationships. So this book, Volume 2, is all about things that we can do to empower and to move ourselves to the next level. So very quickly, and again, while we're waiting for Aquilah, and I know this isn't the topic tonight, but 50 phenomenal women. Look, if you have not been on a call about 50 phenomenal women, this anthology is special to me because, again, and I've said it over and over again, it is one that I am dedicating to my mom. And I'm looking for 50 phenomenal women. And you don't have to just share the story about yourself and what makes you phenomenal, right? Every woman is phenomenal. Every woman has a story. And if there's nothing that you're ready to share about you, what I'll tell you is to share the story about a phenomenal woman in your life, someone that you look up to, a member, could be your mother, could be your grandmother, could be someone that empowered you or have overcame some obstacles, some adversities, and really has been a role model in the community. It could be the type of woman that has given, the type of woman that has served, even though her circumstances might be similar to those that she's helping and those that she's empowering. One of the things to keep in mind is that although we go through different things, our story happened to us, but our story is not for us, right? Your story is to empower another woman. Your story is to share with someone else to help them overcome something that they're going through. And in this day and age, we're not just empowering local, right? We're not just empowering on a national level. We are empowering internationally across the globe. We have sisters involved in this third anthology, 50 Phenomenal Women, that are in different areas of the country. And when I say that we are working to be 1,000 diverse women of all different backgrounds that will empower 1 million globally, we are definitely on the right track. So listen, it is 7:43. I think Aquilah is still having technical difficulties. So what I want to do is go ahead and reschedule this broadcast to next Thursday. Reschedule to next Thursday. And what we'll do is, okay, I think we have Aquilah back on just when I was getting ready to reschedule. Okay, so enough talking about our anthologies coming up, but you have to go to sistersinspiresisters.com. Let me add Aquilah back in. Aquilah, can you hear me? How are we? How are we doing? Okay, I can hear you. I cannot hear you, so you'll have to unmute.
There we go. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, we are rocking and rolling. I can hear you. You can hear me. Hopefully it's less background noise.
Less background noise, loud and clear. Okay, I'm excited. Okay.
Yeah. I'm excited too.
Listen, let's dive into this topic and let's just start from the beginning. If you could start with giving us just an introduction of who you are, what you do, and then we can jump right into the topic.
Okay, great. So my name is Aquilah Robinson, and I am founder of Learn Dyslexic Tutors, where I help kids go from struggling reader to confident reader by building their early literacy skills and building those foundational skills in reading so that they're a more confident reader and they can achieve their lifelong goals.
I love it. So struggling readers to confident readers. And again,
Mhm.
you are in education. How long?
Yes, I have been teaching for over 10 years. I'm certified as a special education teacher, but in my business, I work with kids, whether they have a disability, don't have a disability. For me, it's all about them becoming readers because literacy makes a lifetime of a difference. So I want to give every kid that chance and give every kid that hope.
Thank you. Thank you. So let's talk about, and we all know that there is a famous quote or a famous line when they talk about individuals. I'm just going to use the word individuals being
Yes.
ignorant, or if you want to hold individuals back, what they talk about with certain communities in terms of giving us a book, right?
Mhm.
Giving us a book or not giving us a book. So I agree with you with the literacy being important and starting at an early age. So for me, I mentioned earlier, I do have two grandsons, ages 1 and 4. But what are some of the things that we can do, grandparents and parents, to really start? I've seen videos where there were
Mhm.
2-year-olds reading
Right.
books, and I'm like, how does this happen? So what are some tips and skills and strategies that we can use very early on to get our children even interested in reading?
I would say definitely read out loud to your child, read books with them because it builds their curiosity in books. Whatever they are interested in the world. When I first started tutoring students, whenever we first come together, I found out what their interests are. If they're interested in dinosaurs, guess what? I am getting books about dinosaurs. If they are interested in gems, I am getting books about gems. And we are linking the real world to what they are finding in books. If they ask me questions, guess what? I am pulling up a YouTube video and we're going to read something about it. We're going to watch a video on it. And if we're in person, we're going to find something in the real world and bring all three of those together. And whenever kids can link the different parts of the world together, then they are going to want to read.
Wow, I love that. And it's so interesting because I was just on FaceTime a little before the call with my 4-year-old grandson. So we were talking about um, in his house, there happened to be a little frog that got into the laundry room. So he's
Right.
telling me, Gigi, there's a frog in the laundry room. So we're having this whole conversation now about frogs. And now I'm talking about tadpoles. And now I'm talking about some live in the water and some live on land. So I told him, I said, when I come visit, what we're going to do is we're going to look up some videos and we're going to research some information about frogs and tadpoles. But what you just said is key because, and I know other parents and grandparents probably do this, I'm going straight to technology, right? I'm looking it up on YouTube. I'm getting my phone. I'm getting the iPad. But to me, it sounds like what we really need to do is get the book. Get the
Yeah.
book, read the book.
Yeah, and I would say it's good that it's day kids. You need to combine all the modalities. You need to combine the visual with the YouTube videos. You need to combine the kinesthetic, the tactile by taking them to the museum so they can feel and touch the frog. But also with them reading about frogs, and even you can read to them books at their level, at words they can understand, but also read to them books that may be a little bit more complex for them so they can hear words beyond their level. So imagine if you're only hearing words at your level, like bat, cat, red, you think that's all the world is. So if you
Yes.
find a book that has words like amphibian and cold blooded, go ahead and read those books because they need to hear all types of words. And like you said, frogs, a lot of times when kids are beginning to read, many times they're being exposed to to fiction books. So like you said, frogs, because most of the time they're not hearing about nonfiction books. So I think it's so great to combine the fiction world and the nonfiction world.
So that's really good. And then encompassing all different things. So sort of like from a holistic approach, right?
Hmm.
Not just the books, also the videos. And then there are also different types of learners. When
Hmm.
you talked about, which is one of the things that's great too, and I think for parents is, and I call it, look, stop the baby talk. Stop the baby
Yeah.
talk. The
Right,
child is
right,
one, okay? There's no
right.
need. And sometimes we tend to do that with children because they're so cute and they're so little. So we want to talk to them in baby language, and opposed to exposing them to other words. And like you said, larger words and words above their level. So can you please elaborate on that? And then I have a question here. So the question in the chat is that why it's recommended that we do, yes, right on point. Well, the question is about the baby talk. Is that why it's recommended that we don't talk baby talk to our babies? So what's your thoughts?
Yeah, we are talking in the way we want them to go. Baby talk is going backward. I wouldn't say backwards, but that was previous, and we are going forward. We want them to be mature adults who know how to articulate themselves, how to explain their points. So we want to go ahead and start giving them those vocabulary and those words to use. So we do that by exposing them to words in the books, by the words around them. We just don't call this little thing with 4 legs. It's called a frog. It's called a frog. We describe the frog. And so that when they get older and they can even start writing, they know they already have exposure to words and how to use those words whenever they are writing. For instance, I just came from a tutoring session, and we're working on writing now. What we did today for today's writing exercise, I asked them, "What do you like to? What is one of your favorite dishes?" She says donuts. So we looked up a YouTube video on donuts, and she wrote out every single step to make donuts. And then she learned the new words like ingredient. She learned all the words that she learned a new word like ingredient. She now learned all the things that it takes to make donuts. So again, it's all about expanding their vocabulary, and there's so many different ways to do that.
And when I think about the learning, how important is it for parents to be involved in structure? Because I know sometimes, the TV turns into the babysitter, right? You have a couple of things to do, and it's like, okay, I'm going to turn the TV on. Now, we have the iPads, we have the cell phones, the computers, the laptops, and a lot of children have this technology. There's children that have cell phones. I'll be in the grocery store and the child will be in the shopping cart, and because the mom wants to focus on what she's doing, the child will be on on YouTube looking at different YouTube videos. But then I noticed that it's difficult to monitor what they're watching. And I've had experiences where I've heard different things that children have said, including my grandchildren. And I'm like, well, where did that come from? It had to be from a YouTube video. So what's your thoughts on how can we manage that better?
Yeah, I mean, let's get real. I mean, life is life. And to build your child's literacy, you have to have real conversations. Can we totally take away the technology? No. Do we at times need for our kids to be busy? Yes, that's part of having those real conversations so we can get them from point A to point B. And for instance, if they're watching TV, turn on the closed captions so that they'll see the words at the bottom. If they're going to watch TV, okay, after you get done watching this, you're going to summarize what you read today. If they're little, you can ask them, what colors did you see? What are you thinking? What are you wondering? If they're older, yes, you're going to summarize. You're going to say, you're going to have them name the settings, the characters, the problems. If they're older, well, if they're younger, they're going to retell. If they're older, they're going to summarize. I know sometimes, even with one of the third grade students who I tutor, even some of the older kids, we watch the CNN 10 news, which is more appropriate for kids, but we summarize. So it's not like we can always get away from the TV because it's such a part of our natural world. But there's different ways we can incorporate building those literacy skills with technology. And whether it's, okay, if you watch this cartoon, you're going to walk away with, you're going to come back and tell me 3 new words that you want to look up after you watch this TV show, and let's turn it into a writing project. So it's about infusing them instead of always trying to, I know they should be watching TV, and then it starts that whole guilt trip. But how can we make this an educational activity?
That's good. That's really good. And then turning on the closed captions, that's excellent. And then having engaging conversations about, okay, what did you watch? Ask questions. And then even before, just to Okay, so you're watching this video. Afterwards, I want you to give me 3 things that you learned, or like you said, 3 colors, 3 settings, 3 areas.
Right.
Now, what about the actual reading? So what are some of the things, even in terms of words, pronunciation, sounding them out, and then, visually, how can we help younger children when they start in kindergarten and pre-kindergarten? What is some of the things that we can do to really help them with their reading?
Yeah, I would say one thing I have noticed is that a lot of parents think that their kindergartner knows their ABCs because they can sing the ABC song. And just because your child sings the ABC song, that's because they have it memorized. But let's say a lot of times, a game I play with the kindergartners or just little kids is the They Don't Say Z game. So we can play it real quick. So with the Don't Say Z game, out either one of us can start it off, and we have to say 2 or 3 letters. And the purpose of the game is for the other person not to be caught saying the letter Z.
Mhm.
And so therefore do they know the ABC letters in order, out of order? If I said what comes after Q, can you tell me R? Or are you sitting there with like a deer in head, like A
Right.
B? So it's important for them to be very automatic, fluent. I would say next, do they know their, besides knowing their letters, do they know their letter sounds?
Mhm.
And also the correct pronunciation of the different letter sounds. For instance, with W's, a lot of times when they're being, sometimes when they're being taught in a home environment, let's say for W is wa, and it's not wa, it's like a whisper. Because
Mhm.
whenever you add those additional sounds, then it may mess them up when they're trying to read, when they go into reading words because they're doing what instead of,
Right.
and it's a
Right.
slight twinge of a difference.
And then it's up to us as parents to correct those things when we hear them, and to make sure that we guide them in the right direction, even in terms of the pronunciation. So
Mhm.
what about so when do you know if there is a behavioral issue, or if there might be a learning issue for children that don't want to sit down and do their work? So what age group? I don't. So if I'm sitting down with my grandson and I'm saying, okay, we're doing the alphabet, we're going to trace these letters, and he'll do A and B, and then it's like, all right, I want to do something else now. I'm sitting there like, well, what's going on? What are some strategies that we can use to help them focus? And then when do we know that they're just not interested, they're bored, or there might be some other challenges?
Mhm. I would say there's so many thoughts that so many thoughts when you just brought that up. There's so many different thoughts that go into my head. And as far as behavior issues, for one, one of the quotes that comes to my mind is violence is the language of those unheard or those who do not know how to communicate. And so a lot of the behavior issues come from I don't know how to express myself, or I'm not being heard, or I know that, excuse me, I should have put my phone on do not disturb. But I'm not being understood, excuse me, um, I'm not being understood, I'm behind. Or even when I'm first working with a student, like if he did 2 letters, okay, let's roll with it because I'm figuring you out. I'm in your world. Can you still hear me?
Yes.
Okay, I'm in your world. So are you more of a person who likes to get up and move? Maybe don't like to sit. Okay. And we are slowly building that stamina. Like, let's say, for instance, I don't know if you work out or not, but for instance, if you put me on a treadmill, don't put me on number 8 on that treadmill, I'm going to look at you like you're crazy. You
Right.
want me to run on number 8 for 30 minutes? And I haven't done this in a year. We are going to slowly, I hope there's still not too much background noise. But
No, we're okay.
okay, but we're going to slowly work ourselves up. Okay, I'm just not going to put you on a treadmill, give you a book, and say let's roll with it. And also, a lot of times I've noticed that with the type of books, there are books. When I go to the library, there's books called Level One, and it has words like dinosaur and uh, amphibian. That is not a Level One book, and I know that's so frustrating to parents, because you give that to your child. My child can't read because I gave them a level one book. Those honestly, level one books are meant for like first and second graders. And don't feel frustrated if you give your child that level one book and they can't read. They're struggling to read it because they haven't been exposed to all those type of words. They haven't learned the phonics skills, and that is where a lot of the frustration comes. Excuse me. That's where a lot of frustration comes from, is because what is being presented, let's say they're here, and what's being presented is all the way up here, and
Right.
then it's like a friction. So you have to. I like to start off with Bob's books. Bob's books are great um, for teaching those foundational skills, and it slowly works them up. I have a library I created at www.brightfitbooks.com that has it broken down by the first part is phonics and decodable books. Then it has kindergarten books, first grade books. But if your child is just starting out, let's go with phonics books. For your grandson, if you're asking him to trace letters and he's backing away, okay, let's get some Play-Doh. Let's go get some Wiki sticks. Let's go get some step sticks outside. Let's go get some chalk. Let's go make the letter K with our arms. It
Right.
has to. You have to know your child, know your grandson best. Do they like movement? Do they like music? Because sometimes it's even doing a little bit of both. Okay, we're gonna mix your world. We're gonna mix my world. My world is sitting at this table and tracing letters. We're going to do this for 10 minutes. And then your world is doing chalks and sticks and sky letters. But it's not always about you, because kids need to build that stamina to sit and read. But we also have to meet them in their world.
So that's good because my world is okay. We're going to sit here and trace these letters while I can sit and have my coffee and sip while you're sitting here, nice and calm writing your letters. But that's not always the reality.
Yeah.
So to incorporate other activities. So parents, grandparents, aunts, uncles, listen, those are some of the things that we can do. Incorporate other activities with the learning. And then you also talked about the Bob books, and you gave us your website, which gives recommendations and books
Mhm.
for certain levels, which is great. One of the things, and hello, Antoinette, thank you so much for joining us. One of the things that you talked about, and one of the things that I remember, and I don't know if there's an equivalent, but when I was in elementary school, what happened to the Jack and Jill went up the hill books? Like now it's like the education is so different, and I feel like there's such high expectations. I have
Yeah.
mixed feelings on that because I'm like, yes, we want our children to learn, but what happened to those really basic books that really helped, when we were in the lower grades, the kindergarten and the first grade? Do they have comparable books to those books now?
Yeah, I would say that is why it's so definitely important for you to be involved as a parent, and for you to have those books in your home, because the school system has changed. I see it myself as a teacher. The school system has changed a lot. And what they are expecting kindergartners to be able to come into the classroom to be able to do how they teach is they they don't even teach spelling, you know, or the traditional way that we were used to it. I'll say it like that. So yeah, so definitely, if you're used to Jack and Jill, the what is it, Humpty Dumpty, Itsy Bitsy
Right.
Spider, go ahead and put. They need those. I mean, they need those rhyming books every single day. Because I would say that is one of the, even with my tutoring, is those rhyming skills is one of those skills that really needs to be emphasized, and rhyming, how it's going to become better spellers. That's the link between the two, is as they learn to hear those rhymes, and they'll hear those rhymes by reading all those books that you just spoke of. So go
Mhm.
ahead and read them to your child so they almost have them memorized, and that would help them find out that flow of the English language.
That is great. Can you give us, and I want to put it here in the chat, if we want to, so I know that you also do tutoring.
Yes,
And
yes.
this is, so you do it virtually as well?
Yes, I do it virtually. I have it all set up. The books. I did a virtual tutoring session the other day. One of the kids, I guess parents are like, "Does she? physical books. No, we do digital books. I find digital books right at their level, whether they are in kindergarten, eighth grade. We are rocking and rolling with the comprehension, whether we're using Jamboard, whiteboard, letter tiles, whether they need a kinesthetic, movement, whatever they need. I make sure I incorporate all this into. And so if they are interested in learning more about my services, they can go to www.learnplistic.com, learnplistic.com, learnplistic.com, or they can go ahead and join my Facebook community, Kids Learning and Thriving Facebook community at joinklat.com, www.joinklat.com.
Okay. KLA.
T.com.
So if you can leave us, and thank you so much for putting that in the chat. If you can leave us with 3 tips that we can, three core tips that we can use to really help our children either improve reading or start reading earlier. What would those 3 tips be?
I would say definitely read out loud to your child, whether your child is in kindergarten, eighth grade, high school, audiobooks, read out loud to your child. I remember when I did middle school, the students in eighth grade loved read out loud time. It was that we would come back from lunch, the lights would go, and they didn't go to sleep because we talked about the book, but they need that exposure to the vocabulary, all types of words. So I would definitely say, definitely read out loud to your child. I would say if they're struggling, if you even have a hint that they're struggling, to give me a call and let's talk about it. Because you have to nip the bud, you have to correct problems early. I always equate it to, I'm not sure if anyone's listening has ever struggled with their weight, and we take on that, we gain 1 pound or we gain 5 pounds and we ignore it. Then a year later during COVID, it has ballooned out of control. Our self-esteem is affected, our motivation is affected, and it's the same way with reading skills. But analogy. With reading skills, it's much easier to lose that 1 pound or that 5 pounds as soon as we notice it. And the same way with reading skills, when they're in kindergarten, maybe you have to address 1 or 2 skills. But by the time they get to 3rd grade and 5th grade, I'm not saying the problem can't be corrected, but now you're dealing with self-esteem. You're now dealing with motivation. The same way during COVID with all the weight, we're like, really? Right. I got to go back and lose all of that weight. And kids are human, okay? Right. And they are feeling the compounded effects of, she's reading a chapter book over here, and I'm reading Bob's books in 4th grade.
Right.
Imagine how your kid feels. So I'm not saying that the issue can't be corrected, but as soon as you notice a problem, definitely reach out to someone like me, or if you have someone else in your community who can go ahead and start getting those issues. I would also say, I'm giving 2 more, not to use reading as a punishment. I often hear that, oh, you didn't clean your room, or you didn't ask as I told you to do. So go to your room and read a book. Reading is not a punishment. Reading is a joy. It takes you away to so many different places. It can take you, if you can't afford to go to Bali, it can take you to Bali, Indonesia, China. It's a vacation this summer. We're in the midst of COVID. It can take you to these different places. So COVID is not, reading is not a punishment. And then I would also say, find out what your child is interested in. Ask them questions, whether you already know, or there's so many different reading interest surveys you can do on the internet and incorporate it too. But I know that even with their reading tutoring, a lot of kids may come in refusing to read, but when you start them where they're at, they come in, Miss Robinson, I want to read this book. Miss Robinson, can you read that book to me? Because you're starting where they're at. And it's the same, it's equivalent to if a trainer, if let's say you went to go get a trainer and he's starting you off running 20 miles a day, would you come back to the session? You would look at him like boo-boo the fool. Like, I'm not coming back.
Exactly.
Right. So you have to start where they're at. And yes, we want them reading chapter books and we want them being the next person on stage and et cetera, et cetera. But you have to start where they're at and then grow from there, whether they're in eighth grade, high school, and know that and be consistent. I know it's so hard with so many things going on in the world, but be consistent and Reading out loud to your child is a great way to build a connection with them because you can share your life experiences. They can talk about their day, and yeah.
Thank you so much. That was good. So just a recap. Number one, and just I want to make sure I got these correctly. Number one is reading out loud. Make sure you read out loud. That's important. Number two, you said was for us, if we think that there might be a challenge, to identify and do something about that quickly. Don't wait until it compounds. If we identify that there might be an issue, then we should address that. Number three, you talked about, and this was good. This was really good. Number three, do not use reading as a punishment. It's not a punishment. Don't use it as a punishment. So, sometimes your child will do something. You'll say, well, go upstairs in your room and read a book, or, read a book. It reminds me of in school, the child that talked too much had to stand up at the chalkboard and write like 30 times or 50 times, I will not talk in class. I will not talk in class. Parents, do not use reading as a punishment with your children. And that was number three. So that was really good. And then letting us know if you didn't see the website is in the chat. And when you think about tutoring and getting advice, why not seek professional assistance from an educator? Just hearing Aquilah talk about the different tips and the different strategies and the different things that we can do are things that I never even thought about. Even the closed caption. So there were so many, I hope our viewers were taking notes. There were so many good things that you shared with us. So if you have questions, or if there is challenges, or if you want your child to be tutored, or if you think, there might be some things going on here, let me speak with a professional to find out. Please, ladies, reach out to Aquilah. Again, the website is in the chat. It is one thing to talk about empowering and education and literacy, even as we're adults. But when we have the opportunity to start our children and give them a head start at a young age, just imagine the phenomenal people that they are going to turn out to be. Aquilah, thank you so much. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. We're going to share your information with our network, also in our SIS newsletter. We look forward to having another conversation. And what I like to do, the next conversation, is to really talk about specific books, because I think that's interesting for the different grade levels, and give our viewers some titles and authors of specific books that the children can also read to help.
I think that is definitely a good idea. I know, especially with a lot of things that have gone on in our society in the past few years, incorporating reading. We have read about the Tulsa massacre, because some students don't know about that. So watching the videos on it, but also reading articles, and the history around us is so important to read about. So that is definitely, I would love to have that conversation with the community again. Thank you, everyone, for your patience with the technology. It was so great to come on and speak to everyone.
Thank you so much. Again, listen, everyone, if you enjoyed the broadcast, please make sure you like and share. You can also go to YouTube. And if you have not subscribed to our YouTube channel, Sisters Inspire Sisters, please hit the subscribe button. We love for you to be a part of our weekly conversations. Wishing everyone a great evening, and we'll see you again next Thursday. Good night.